All right, everyone. It has been 14 days since Japan's immigration has announced the official new changes to the business manager visa and how that will affect current visa holders. So let's get right into this. The majority of this video is going to be covering the increased requirements of the business manager visa. I'll try and explain it to you from my understanding as clearly as possible. And of course, our only frame of reference for this is going to be the information released on Japan's immigration website. Then at the end of the video, we'll also discuss how it's going to affect current visa holders such as ourselves here at Benton Homestead and the timeline of when the effect will take place. Now, I did really want to get this blog and video out as quickly as possible, but I've already mentioned it's been 14 days since the information was released, and I personally just needed to take some time to let it sink in and formulate my thoughts, because this does very much affect us and our future here in Japan. The new business manager visa requirements had been looming for only a few short months, but during that time we were feeling really uncertain as to how it would affect us personally. There were rumors, speculation, accusations, and many more questions than answers. We hosted numerous live streams where our small community got a chance to interact and share ideas and talk about what may or may not be happening. And to make the situation even more complicated and stressful, our own visa renewal applications were in progress during the time that the changes were announced. So don't worry, we have successfully received our renewal. We have been given one more year here in Japan. However, we now find ourselves at the beginning of a new and different uphill battle as we navigate the 3-year grace period given to existing visa holders. We have a lot of information to cover. I think the most streamlined way to present this information is to first outline exactly what the changes are, and then at the end of the video we can discuss the future of Benton Homestead in Japan. Before we begin, I just have 2 notes, and I've been saying this a lot lately, but I feel that saying both of these things really helps facilitate better discussion. As I've made clear with each of our public discussions of the business manager visa changes, I know many of us, including myself, have a lot of feelings about this topic, which is understandable. However, there are plenty of other spaces online to express those certain kinds of feelings, and I want to be very clear that political or unhelpful comments are not welcome on our channel. This space is for rational discussion and coming up with solutions. So let's explore this topic based on information available directly from Japan's official Immigration Services Agency website without very much speculation or anything unofficial. The second thing, I always state at the beginning of these immigration topic blogs and videos, we are not experts in Japanese immigration by any means. We are just 2 people who have gone through this process and are still in the middle of this process ourselves. We received the 6-month startup visa from Imabari City, incorporated our business into a Kabushiki Gaisha Japanese corporation. We completed the startup visa requirements within the 6-month time frame, and we have successfully now received 3 one-year extensions for the business manager visa. We only have our own personal experience to draw from, along with public information that is readily available online for everyone to read, plus some insight from our immigration lawyer and other Japanese professionals. Please consider the information that we share with that in mind. If you have detailed questions about your own immigration process, we always suggest that your first step should be contacting an immigration lawyer to discuss your unique situation. So, I've mentioned already, the only page we're going to jump back and forth between is Japan's official immigration website. They have a new page entitled Revision of the Ministerial Ordinance on Landing Standards for the Status of Resident Business Manager. This page outlines the new requirements, how they differ from the former requirements, and some additional notes for clarification. As of this time, this is the only reliable source of information. We've spoken with many professionals who have attempted to contact immigration and get some questions answered, and up until the point that the new requirements were officially released, even many of the employees at immigration said that they did not have any sort of guidance on the new requirements at that time yet. So there's a lot of new information, and everyone at the same time is learning the new information and how to meet the new goals moving forward. So in order to not bore you to tears and read a bunch of dense text, my brief explanation of the new requirements will be simplified from the official guidelines. Please refer to the official website for details. Before we dive into my summary, I will show you this is the ISA, Japan's Immigration Services Agency website. This is the page that has all of this information. This is just an automatic translation from Japanese to English, so you can see the formatting is not perfect. But you can also see it's not a very long page. It has, at the top, it has the main revisions, which we'll go over. Then it has handling of applications. This is just some additional information about requirements. Important points to note regarding implementation. And then a little Q&A section, which pretty much just simplifies other information that has already been covered on the page. And then some additional documents and application forms. Okay, we're going to spend a little time going over these 5 bullet points because these are the main revisions from the old Business Manager Visa to the new Business Manager Visa requirements. The first is employment of a full-time employee. This person must be a Japanese national or a permanent resident of Japan or a spouse of a Japanese national or a permanent resident of Japan. So what that means is that this can't be someone who is living in Japan on a working visa or on a student visa or on a tourist visa. So unfortunately, we've had quite a few people suggest that, well, Benton Homestead can meet this requirement by having Evan hire me as the full-time employee, but that will not meet this requirement because I am neither a Japanese national or a permanent resident of Japan yet, hopefully one day. So one thing that I would like to point out about this is that employing a full-time employee is not just the cost of their wages. You know, of course, your business plan has to provide something for that employee to do full-time. They need to be, you know, actively working in your business, and you want their work to be earning the business income, or at least freeing up your time as a manager to build and grow the business. But here in Japan, it's not just the wages that you're paying. The business is also responsible for paying the social insurance, so their health insurance and pension. So you have the wages to pay, and then you have a lot of additional expenses that go along with that. The second main revision, of course, this is the big one. This is the big concern for many of the existing visa holders, as well as those who have been working towards applying soon. The business capital has increased to a minimum requirement of 30 million yen, which is approximately the equivalent of 200,000 US dollars. It has increased 600% from the former 5 million yen. So this is paid in capital, which is sort of a new expression for me. I'm learning all kinds of things about business going through this process. So that means the 30 million yen is not just income the business has earned. Some people have asked if that's an annual income requirement. It does not mean that. Paid in capital is money that has been certified in some way to show that it has been funded to your business. So, for example, in our experience, when we went through the startup visa program and then graduated to the business manager visa, we certified 5 million yen as Benton Homestead's paid in capital. So now we will have to go through the process of increasing that to 30 million yen. Previously, a business manager visa could be obtained with 5 million yen, which is approximately 35,000 US dollars, or even in lieu of any paid in capital, you could have hired 2 full-time employees, which is kind of a weird situation. I don't know very many businesses that would be ready to start just right off the ground with 2 full-time employees. So I don't know how frequently that happened. But as you can see, these requirements are no longer either or, and the minimum capital investment has increased 6 times over. The next main revision is Japanese language proficiency. The website outlines a number of options to demonstrate Japanese language proficiency. The first is the JLPT, which, if you're not familiar with that term, that is the Japanese language proficiency test. And they are stating that it needs to be at level N2 or higher. The test, if you're not familiar, goes from N5, which is at the bottom, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 1 is essentially a native speaker. So N2 is second from the top. Other options are the BJT Business Japanese Proficiency Test score of 400 or higher. I'm not familiar with that test. Or you can prove your Japanese language proficiency by having resided in Japan for 20 years or more as a mid to long-term resident, have graduated from a Japanese university or other institution of higher education, or have completed compulsory education in Japan and graduated from high school. So you can see that the first 2 are testing, and the second 3 are more like you've lived in Japan and you've grown up in Japan. So I think the reason that they've specified these 5 options is because they've also made an addendum that if the business manager visa applicant cannot meet one of the above mentioned language requirements, which most people are going to meet this requirement by passing the JLPT N2. But if the business manager cannot speak Japanese at the N2 level, then their full-time employee can satisfy this requirement. Now, of course, a Japanese national is probably never going to have taken the JLPT Japanese language proficiency test, and it would be a little silly to have them do that in order to prove their level of their own language. So I sort of feel like the first and the second, the 2 testing options, that's going to be for if the business manager visa applicant has the Japanese language ability, and then the bottom 3 options are going to be if the business manager visa applicant does not have the Japanese language ability, then their full-time employee can satisfy the requirement with one of those bottom 3 options. That's just sort of my take on it. The fourth main revision is academic achievement or work experience. This one was a little scary for us for a minute, but when they added the work experience option, that made it seem a little bit easier to satisfy. Applicants must hold a doctorate, master's, or professional degree in a field related to business management or specifically related to their field of work. Okay, so you have to have a doctorate, master's, or professional degree either in business management or in something specially related to your specific business, or you have to have 3 or more years of experience in business management or administration. They do note I don't remember which section of the immigration website this was in. I think it was in the questions and answers section. They note that work experience may include the period of time the business manager visa applicant has been working in their business in Japan. So I will assume this means that time spent in the startup visa period, if the applicant has completed the startup visa prior to the business manager visa, which could be, in our case, 6 months, but as you know, it's expanding to be renewable up to 2 years. So potentially a business manager visa applicant could get up to 2 years of those 3 years of experience required here in Japan while in the startup visa program. So for those of us who are existing visa holders, this time already spent managing our business in Japan is enough to meet that requirement. And the fifth and final main revision is that now business plans must be reviewed by a professional. This one sort of seems like it probably should have already been required, and I think a lot of people are probably already meeting this requirement, including ourselves. So the business plan must be evaluated to determine whether the plan is concrete, reasonable, and feasible by one of the following: a small and medium-sized business management consultant, a certified public accountant, or a certified tax accountant. So of the 5 main revisions, that one seems to be the most simple to meet and probably has already been happening with most legitimate business manager visa holders, but now it's just official. Now we'll run through a few additional points clarified by immigration. So this one covers some questions that people had, and they've just clearly stated on the website the answer to those questions. Number 1, regarding business content. If the actual activities of a business owner are not fully recognized due to outsourcing, etc., the applicant will be treated as not engaging in activities that fall under the business manager status of residence. So this is basically saying that the business manager needs to be actively involved and working integral to the business. Number 2, regarding business place. Because it is necessary to secure a business place for business activities in accordance with the revised scale, etc., it is generally not permitted to use one's home as a business place. I was under the impression that that is already a requirement, so that doesn't seem to be a change. We were required to have our own personal residence address separate from our business office, which is why the business office is located in a separate private room inside Benton Guest House. Number 3, regarding permanent residence permission applications, etc. After the enforcement date, if the applicant does not meet the revised permission criteria, they will not be granted permanent residence from business manager to permanent resident. This was a long paragraph and I've summarized that, and it still sounds confusing. What this means is they foresaw a potential loophole where many current existing business manager visas would say, there's no way I can meet those new rules, and start looking at how they can apply for permanent residency early, which is a whole separate sort of list of requirements, and it's based on a point system. So we had actually gone through this whole thought process. Evan got on the permanent residency points calculator. We talked with our immigration lawyer about some possibilities for how we could earn more points in order to be able to apply for permanent residency early. And immigration has said, don't even bother. That's not going to be an option. So anyone who is currently a business manager visa cannot transition to permanent residency status unless they are also meeting the new business manager visa requirements, which basically means you still have to have the 30 million yen. Number 4, regarding departure from Japan during residence. If an applicant leaves Japan for an extended period without a valid reason during their period of residence, they will be deemed to have no actual activities in Japan and will not be granted a renewal of their period of stay. Again, if you're actively here working in your business, that's not going to be a problem for you. We don't even leave the island, let alone leave Japan for extended periods of time throughout the year. So that one doesn't seem like it's going to be a major issue. Number 5, regarding payment of public taxes. When renewing their period of stay, the applicant's payment status for the following public taxes will be confirmed. And I've summarized that as well. It's a long paragraph on the official website. Basically, this one is just saying you have to follow the law. So everyone needs to be paying taxes. And lastly, number 6, obtaining licenses and permits necessary for operating a business. The applicant is required to submit documents certifying the acquisition of necessary licenses and permits for the business they will operate. Again, this one seems to just be saying you need to follow the law. So it seems to me that most of these additional points being clarified by immigration are not actually changes. These are, as they say, clarifications. So this was probably something that was, maybe these points were a gray area and it was not clearly outlined anywhere, and now they are outlined. And the final section is important points regarding timeline of implementation. So for those submitting new applications, the new standards have been in effect since October 16, 2025. As of the recording of this video, that was 2 weeks ago, so any new applications for new business manager visa holders, you will have to meet the new requirements effective immediately. For those existing visa holders, and that includes people who are already here with the business manager visa and those whose application was submitted prior to October 16, 2025, we've been given a 3-year grace period until October 16, 2028. So, as one of the approximately 41,000 existing business manager visa holders in all of Japan, and as one of the only 51 business manager visa holders in all of Ehime Prefecture, we fall under the second category of folks. So this is where we can start discussing how the changes specifically affect Benton Homestead. I will read the wall of text from the official website. I've put it here in my blog. For individuals already residing in Japan with business manager status who apply for extension of period of stay between the effective date October 16, 2025 and the date 3 years have passed October 16, 2028. Since the effective date October 16, 2025, even if the application does not meet the revised standards, approval will be determined based on the applicant's business situation and the likelihood of compliance with the revised standards. Please note that you may be required to submit documents evaluated by a business expert during the review process. This was not a previous requirement, but that will be added during the grace period. The official text goes on to say, applicants for extension of period of stay submitted after 3 years have passed since the effective date, October 16, 2028, must comply with the revised standards. Note, even if an application does not meet the revised standards, if the applicant's business situation is good, the applicant has properly fulfilled its corporate tax and other payment obligations, and the applicant is expected to meet the new standards by the time of the next renewal application, approval will be determined based on a comprehensive consideration of the applicant's other residence status. It sort of makes sense when you read it. I'm sure it makes very little sense just listening to it, so let's break that down a little bit. It seems to me what this is saying is, again, this is for existing business manager visa holders, during the 3-year grace period, October 16, 2025 to October 16, 2028, each renewal will be based off the likelihood that our business will reach the goals within the time frame. I may be incorrect in this assessment, but my theory is that each of the approximately 40,000 business manager visa holders will only receive 1-year renewals for the duration of the 3-year grace period. That is the only conjecture theory that I'm going to share. I think it's very likely that everyone is only going to receive 1 year, 1 year, 1 year for the 3 years. That way, immigration can closely monitor progress towards the goals at 1-year intervals. At any time the business does not demonstrate reasonable progress towards the new goalposts, they might not get a renewal. However, it seems that what this is also saying is, at the end of the 3-year grace period, if our business does not quite meet the new goals, but it looks like we would probably meet the new goals within one more renewal period, they can choose to give one more renewal in order to do so. Having this kind of leniency in their decision-making process will probably help them put an end to the paper business, fake business loophole. Of course, that's good news. The takeaway of all of that is that they seem to be giving themselves some wiggle room to make decisions on a case-by-case basis. For our business situation, that's almost certainly good news too. Which brings me to my next obvious question. How is Benton Homestead going to meet the new business manager visa requirements? Well, that's a really good question. Here's the situation. We are a small rural business on a small rural island in a small rural prefecture. We have a small budget, but big dreams, and we work hard to make up the difference. We often make our work harder for ourselves by rehabilitating otherwise abandoned properties, which of course adds lots of extra work and unexpected obstacles. Benton Homestead is in all ways a small blue-collar business. So how are we even considering the monumental task of increasing our business capital by 25 million yen, about 170,000 US dollars, in the next 3 years? After spending a few days feeling miserable for ourselves and just wondering if this was a completely hopeless situation, we've spoken with a lot of people. We've begun to wrap our head around some possibilities. So, for starters, we have a great team of professionals. We have begun initial discussions with our business consultant, accountant, and immigration lawyer. These 3 professionals have already been our guides for the past 3 years through the startup visa process and helped us successfully navigate the first 2 fiscal years of Benton Homestead in Japan. Since the business manager visa changes were announced a few months ago, we've already started rolling around a lot of different ideas. So over the next few months, we'll give ourselves the winter to continue discussions and come up with a new business plan to put us on the proper trajectory to 30 million yen within 3 years. We just have to make very wise decisions with limited additional funding. Also, very importantly, we have the support of our community, and that means a lot. Many of our friends and neighbors on Ōmishima are also business owners. The outpouring of support has been incredibly heartwarming. One friend in particular sent an encouraging message that brought tears to my eyes. He said, "You are an essential asset to the island, so I sincerely hope you can stay. Let's all come up with some great ideas together for the Bentons." Another friend and business owner said, "The new goals are so big, but you two have a great story that inspires many, and he thinks we can do it." I know the residents of Ōmishima are not the ones who get to choose if we can continue to live in Japan, but I do believe being a small part of this tight-knit community will help us meet our goal. And also, I don't really know how to say this in a nice way, but have you noticed by now that we are a little bit crazy? It's true. We didn't become, as others have said, the poster children for the startup visa program without throwing caution to the wind and diving into the deep end. Moving across the globe to Japan as two foreigners to start a business in the countryside and do all kinds of things that we had never done before is crazy. But hey, we did it. We're just coming up on 3 years. We got on NHK. Weren't we all taught to believe that we can do anything we set our minds to? We've already done many impossible tasks. So now we just have more impossible tasks ahead of us, and we're not going to give up. Long story short, the tentative plans that we have worked out so far will include a number of different avenues towards securing an additional 25 million yen in capital, including, possibly, certifying future business income as capital, launching one or more additional income streams, which will increase the amount of income that we have to certify as capital. We can crowdfund specific projects, which will increase our income capacity quickly. So you get what I'm saying. There's a lot of hard work. Working harder, making more income, and adding additional income streams that we can then work hard and earn more income. And lastly, general fundraising. 3 years is a long time. Anything can happen in 3 years, even a miracle. But if we're able to put a great new business plan together, we may not need a miracle. Just another 3 years of hard work and determination combined with your continued support and encouragement. A friend told me recently to leave room for magic. And we are leaving room for magic. Evan would say, expect God to exceed your expectations. So the very first step is to start a general fundraising campaign. Please understand that we don't take this lightly. As I just mentioned, every other avenue towards meeting this goal involves our own hard work to grow our business. But we've been encouraged for a few months by many friends and subscribers to start a GoFundMe, so we decided to give it a try. We did have a friend start a GoFundMe, and then I actually asked him to take it down because I felt like it was a little too early. Because at that time that he started the GoFundMe on our behalf, the new requirements weren't out yet, and many people were saying, oh, there's no way they're going to have to meet these new requirements. It's way too early to start asking for money. So I thanked him and politely asked that that GoFundMe be taken down. But now that the official requirements have been announced, we are starting our own. So fundraising is a way to take the edge off, and it's going to make that very high target just a little bit closer to reach. So we don't anticipate that fundraising donations will make up for a large percentage of the goal, but as they say, every little bit helps. And actually, the great thing about GoFundMe and why I chose that platform is because I can adjust the goal at any time. We don't want a single penny donated more than what is needed. Okay, so I can increase and decrease the goal as we get closer to meeting the new requirements over the next 3 years. So, if you feel compelled to donate towards Benton Homestead's continued operation in Japan, please feel free and we would be eternally grateful. But also, please do not feel obligated. We have enjoyed meeting so many new friends on this 3-year journey so far, and none of that comes with the expectation of receiving anything in return. We did not put ourselves out there in order for this to be a transactional relationship. So there is no expectation or obligation to contribute to this fundraising campaign. But of course, besides the general fundraising campaign, there are many other ways that you can help, and they don't even all involve spending money. So you can also help Benton Homestead by purchasing a YouTube membership or becoming a Buy Me a Coffee member. Both of those are similar to Patreon, which you're probably familiar with, which is the small monthly donations. Other ways to help include, of course, visiting Benton Guest House, stopping at our place on Ōmishima on your next Shimanami Kaido trip. If you live in Japan, you can, of course, enjoy our Mikan citrus honey or our Hyakamitsu wildflower honey that ships nationwide. We've had a few people from overseas order honey to be delivered to friends here in Japan, so that's also an option. If you like vintage records, we have a small collection of vintage records available for sale online. All of those were found here in the house. And we also still offer our consultation services, so we do video consultations for those of you looking to move to Japan, as well as translation services for local purchases and real estate property tours. Of course, the free options are always appreciated as well, so you can just continue to like, comment, and share our videos and posts, as well as our fundraising campaign. We're going to have a lot going on over the next 3 years, so there will be many, many ways to help simply by sharing. So that includes my brief overview and summary of the new Business Manager Visa requirement changes. As you can see, it affects us personally, and we are just beginning a new uphill battle in order to continue revitalizing our little part of Japan's countryside. We know we're not the only ones affected by this. I've probably had over 50 people reach out to me personally about how these changes have affected their plans or their current existing life in Japan. So I would just like to say once more, let's not lose hope. Again, 3 years is a long time. Maybe the situation will change once many of the paper businesses, fake businesses, are weeded out, and the only remaining legitimate businesses are working towards the new goals in the grace period. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, 3 years is a long time. It's a long time for good things to happen. If you're interested in discussing further, please consider joining us on our monthly live stream. We have a great little community of regular chat participants, many of whom are also on their own path towards Japan and have great personal experience to share. So it's just a time for us to get together and talk about ideas and solutions for how we can all move forward. It's always held the last Sunday of the month. However, November's live stream will be 1 week early on Sunday, November 23rd from 8 to 10 a.m. Japan time. We're moving it a week early because we're hoping it'll all work out that we can host Ōmishima Island's second ever American Thanksgiving for our neighbors. If you can't make the live stream time, you're always welcome to leave your questions in advance. Then you can watch the replay later for the answer, and everyone is welcome. Well, with that being said, we have a lot of work ahead of us. We have a lot of planning to do. We have a lot of things to figure out for how we're going to put ourselves on the trajectory to meet the new requirements within the new time frame. So, that being said, we've got to get to work. We'll see you in the next live stream, or we'll see you in the next video, and I sincerely thank all of you for following along and continuing to participate. We really appreciate every one of you. See you guys soon.